Hi, this is Kirk, the bariatric carnivore. Well, let me ask you a question, and this is a real important question. Who makes money when you are deprescribed a drug? Yeah, nobody. Matter of fact, it actually creates danger for the doctor. So say, for instance, you've been prescribed some sort of antidepressant and you come off that antidepressant after many years and you feel bad, anxious, maybe suicidal, the family sues you because you took them off a drug when you knew they were depressed 7 years ago, you prescribed it to them, and boy, you didn't follow up and monitor them. See, getting somebody off of medication requires a lot of follow-up and monitoring, and unfortunately, they're not paid to do it. There's not really big insurance is not really all that interested in paying for the care that it requires to get somebody off of the medication. They'll pay for the medication. That's cheaper than monitoring somebody to come off of a medication. And you got to realize that there's a very good chance that the medication that you've been on for years was really only approved after it had been used for maybe 3 to 6 months in the trial. That can be a problem, particularly with antidepressants. We pass these things out like candy. Millions of people are on antidepressants and millions get prescribed every month. Yet very few people know that they were only tested for 3 to 6 months as far as what the withdrawal side effects are. And all of them that were approved show that if you use it for 3 to 6 months, you're not going to have any withdrawals. The problem is most of us get prescribed these by our family physician at our annual physical. We only see the doctor once a year. So we've been taking that drug for a year. And probably at that point, they're going to ask you, any downsides to taking it? No. Well, there's no downside. Keep taking it. You're not depressed, are you? No. Good. Keep it up. Must be doing its job. And it's not realizing that you are setting yourself up for some real serious issues when you try to come off of it. I know. I had that same thing. I was prescribed an antidepressant sometime back in the 90s. I was still taking it for a very long time, back in the 2000s, but I was using it for almost a decade before I came off of it. And it presented some serious issues. I think it took me somewhere around 3 to 5 years before I got fully all my brain function back, or at least what I think is all my brain function back. I feel much better now than I did for really the first couple of years after taking it. People have told me that my work performance has gone up pretty dramatically, and it's really only about 4 years after getting off the drug that people really started noticing major improvements in my behavior and my work performance. That kind of tells me something, that this may have been holding me back much more than I thought. And I only became aware of it because I ran into another YouTube channel that talks about people coming off of drugs like benzos and antidepressants and the long-term effects of these drugs. And I wasn't aware of it. I was not aware of the fact that they are serious withdrawals that come from taking these drugs for years and then coming off. And they're not tested. Well, the question is, whose job was it to test that? Well, you would think it'd be Big Pharma, but really, frankly, the job of Big Pharma is to make money for their stockholders, period. It ain't to be looking after you. Sorry, they're just not. They jumped through the hoops, they got their drug approved, and their job is not to be looking for long-term side effects that come from years and years of use, because they only tested them for 3 to 6 months and they got government approval. So it's not their job to find problems. Well, is it the job of the government? Well, the government, unfortunately, is financed by Big Pharma for the most part, through their own fees and regulatory things. They're not going to bite the hand that feeds them either. Their salaries really are kind of dependent on Big Pharma. Is it the job of your doctor? Your doctor doesn't know. All he knows is what Big Pharma tells him. What about universities? Look, the universities are funded by Big Pharma. There's really nobody looking after you. So how do you find out about this stuff? Well, frankly, you're on your own. But thankfully you're all alone in this together. There's some really good websites out there with people that have experienced long-term withdrawals from different drugs, after they've been taking drugs for long periods of time, and how they coped with it and what those things are, so you know that you're not crazy, because you're going through stuff that doesn't seem right, but nobody will tell you what it is. And when you start meeting with other people, you start to recognize, oh, I've got that symptom too. I'm not alone. And once you kind of realize that, then you can figure out mitigation strategies. And there are, thankfully, many ways of getting around it, including changes in diet, exercise, maybe even supplements that can help make up for some of these withdrawals. And frankly, they're pretty severe. There's people that have been taking antidepressants for decades, and if they ever come off of them, they're going to have very serious problems. So forewarned is forearmed. If you've been on a medication for a long period of time and you're thinking about getting off of it, don't do it cold turkey. I mean, really. And there are, thankfully, some people that you can work with that are medical professionals that may not be in your area, but they're willing to do online consultation to help people get off of long-term medication use. Because remember, your family doctor really can't take the time to monitor you. People have been using insulin for a long period of time. They're going to have a real hard time when they switch to a low-carb diet, because all of a sudden their need for insulin is going to go down pretty dramatically. And unless they are prepared for that, they're going to give themselves way too much insulin and throw themselves into some serious health issues. We don't talk about that enough, but frankly, when you change diet and lifestyle and you become more healthy, you're going to want to get off of a lot of these medications, and you need to be talking with your doctor about, hey, what's it going to take to get off this stuff? I had to, my blood pressure medicine, I had to really carefully taper that stuff off, because as I came off of the other medications, my blood pressure started dropping really rapidly, and that made me really lightheaded. I almost fell over a couple of times, in my mid-50s, because, I'd stand up and, the blood pressure was too low. I had to monitor it at home, really lower the dose and keep the dose low, trying to keep my blood pressure normal, but at the same time, I can't go too low or I'm going to start fainting. So, all these type of long-term medications that you've been using for a while, they have effects. And coming off of them also has effects. And there's side effects to all of that. And some of these are long-term use problems that we've never studied, because it's never been anybody's problem. So this is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. Remember, in this fight for our health, man, we are all alone in this, but we can be all alone in this together when we share information with one another. So please do. Find other support groups. Look for people. Just Google it. And by the way, don't always rely just on Google, but also use other search engines like DuckDuckGo. I was poking around the other day and was trying to find an antiviral home remedy, and it was amazing. I could not find it on Google, but when I went to DuckDuckGo, it was the very first thing that popped up. So when you are looking for problems that kind of go against the narrative, and when you're going against Big Pharma's narrative, Big Pharma invests a lot of money in these major search engines. So they may or may not give you the best results. So look at some of the smaller search engines that may give you better results. Like I said, DuckDuckGo works for me. In this battle for our health, man, we are really, frankly, all alone in this. But we can all be alone in this together. That's what this community is for. If you've been deprescribed medication by your doctor, let me know. I'd be curious. If anybody is on, their doctor's recommendation was told, let's get you off of that medication, I'd be frankly glad to know it. I'd like to know that there are a few doctors out there that really try to work to deprescribe. But my doctor never deprescribed me anything. Every time I'd go, he would get another one. And by the time I was done, I was on 10 meds. I was a patient for life. Because a patient cured is a patient lost. I guess maybe some of their mottos. I don't like to think my doctor was like that, but he did not put deprescription as an emphasis. Frankly, I would hope that getting a patient healthy and off of drugs should be the goal of every good doctor, but it isn't the normal practice. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. We try to put out a new message at least a couple times a week. I will talk to you soon.